Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Be That Create That channel. We are recording our podcast today. You know, we're going to share that on the YouTubes. We're going to share it in our Facebook group. I always want to make sure that our guests that come on the show get the best opportunity to meet our audience. If they were coming on the show, that means that I want to make sure I get to share their insights and brilliance with you. And today I've already just had a couple minutes to talk with our guest, Kathy, and read through some of the things that she has going on in the background. And I'm really excited to be able to share her with you today. So I'm going to bring Kathy on from backstage. Hello again.
Hello.
Wonderful. You know, I love the fact of being able to record things like this as the podcast and share it, but then giving the opportunity for people to get in the energy of that kind of live show, right? To see it on YouTube as well. So thank you for being game for that. I'm super excited to share our conversation today. So
absolutely, me too.
So why don't you go ahead and share with our community a little bit about yourself and how you got to your entrepreneurial journey where you're at right now.
Absolutely. My name is Kathy Baldwin, and I am the host and best-selling author of Unlearn the Crap and Level Up Your Soul is Calling, as well as the second book, How I Unlearned My Crap. I became an expert in this through life's journey. I was a traditional woman, Gen X, going through what I call the bridge generation from the baby boomers and the traditional female roles. I was coming to be my own when women were allowed to finally have their own bank accounts and their own credit cards. When technology was changing, everything was in rapid change. And our society and our nervous systems and what we were taught and the means that we were brought up in that created what I call the conditioned responses and automatic programming created a big mess for a lot of people. And I had to do a lot of unlearning to step into the best version of myself.
I do feel like sometimes people do get stuck in that blocks and those limiting beliefs of like, well, this is who I was in the past, or this is what I've had happen in my life. And, you know, I love that Tony Robbins always says life happens for us, not life happens to us. It's really a difference in choice. Explain a little bit of that programming for us, for those that maybe just don't have the same kind of verbiage in it and understanding of what that might mean.
Absolutely. I am one of those people that I need to understand. Like, you can tell me all sorts of things. I was a study of everything: personal development, neurology, biology, psychology, quantum physics. I mean, you name it. But until I was able to experience it and really understand it, it was all cognitive. So our thoughts and our beliefs, they are our operating system, like our computers. And if we don't upgrade and we continue to work with a DOS system, I guess I just aged myself.
I know you did it. I got you.
But if we were trying to operate in today's world with today's technology and today's challenges with an old DOS system or an old dial-up, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't even recognize what the sound of a dial-up is.
Correct.
But it doesn't work. And that is the way our central nervous system works. That's the way our brains are wired. Our brains are physical, but they're energetic. And so is our body, and so is our life. And there is a huge interconnection that we've never been taught. Our thoughts, we think they're just airy, fairy, fluffy things. But they actually are the switch for the neuroprogramming, our biology, our hormones. They change our gut microbiome. They create inflammation. They set off our central nervous system. I mean, they are the driving force of everything, and they can create the life of our dreams, or they can make us spiral to the darkest depths. And we can feel out of control. We can feel powerless.
Mhm.
but it's part of the conditioned responses that we were taught that we don't have control. I believe that it's part of the systematic change that's happening. That people are starting to understand that we have been disempowered purposely so that we could be controlled and manipulated, but that is starting to be unlearned.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I hate to use the lingo of woke and canceled and that kind of thing, because I think that has its own negativity towards it where people are like, I don't want to talk about that, right? But I think that there is a piece of it, this awakening of it doesn't have to be what it's always been. And I get to be in charge of what I decide that's going to be in my own aura, my own circle, right? So I share that with Be That Create That as this is my leadership lifestyle. It's not just about being a leader at work or in my career, but I'm a leader as a mom. I'm a leader as a friend. I'm a leader for myself, right? I decided this morning to get up and work out, and it might not have been to go to the gym to do it, but I did it at my home. And it was that decision that this is the type of life that I want to lead. And I think so many people stop at, well, that's not what I did yesterday, or that's not what I did growing up, or that's not what my friends do. Okay, but what do you want? Right. So I love that you kind of tie that into that we get to choose. I think that's great. I think that leads really well. We did talk a little bit about leadership already. So I think that leads really well into, when we think about leadership, what does that mean to you besides I lead a group of people, right? That's what we get from Google or we get from Webster. But what does leadership mean to you, and how do you feel like you kind of came to that understanding?
That has been a huge evolution. I love this question. I really do. Because to me, leadership is alignment. It is aligned with your heart and your soul and your thoughts and your physical being. Because when we are in alignment, leadership is about inspiring others. And we can only inspire others if we are living our true purpose, our true passion, if we are in full, total alignment with our dreams. So it's an inner work that we need to do. And all of the power that we have to lead others comes from us just being fully in homeostasis, in balance, in harmony, in alignment, however you want to phrase it.
I had a mentor once that said, a woman who leads herself can lead others. Yeah. How can you help other people see what's possible for them if you can't for yourself? And that does come in alignment with, what makes me happy, what brings me joy, where do I feel like I'm making the biggest impact? And leadership is influence, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We all have a zone of genius, a special gift, a special dream, a special place. And when we are living that fully, we're inspiring others to do the same. It might be to follow part of what our dream is or to follow their own. But when we all step into that place where we are providing the best of ourselves, now we're changing the world, and that's leadership.
Making a difference just one at a time. Yes. I love that. I mean, we could stop right there, but I do have more questions for you. Because
I'm not done talking to you yet either.
Right. I know. I did go down the Kathy rabbit hole because there was just so much, so much value that you're putting out there. And I feel like I just barely scratched the surface. So share with us a little bit about a project that you're working on right now that you're really passionate about, that you feel like is making an impact.
Well, what I'm doing right now is it's funny because we were talking about leadership. And when I would be working with clients or on my podcast or writing my books or anything, it was about helping other people zone into who they are and where their zone of genius is. Well, you can't give away what you don't have. And so the more I was giving it away, the more I was giving it to myself. And so through this process, I realized that I'm a big picture person. I am a creator. If you know anything about human design, when I discovered that I'm a manifester, I went, oh, it makes so much sense. Now this is who I am. And so I started stripping away the things that I was good at, things I enjoyed, but they weren't the things that lit me up. And so I came to a place where I know that I want to support others in them finding their true empowerment. And part of that is with my podcast, sharing information just like you are with the books that I'm doing. But it's also about empowering others through their lack of their zone of genius, because I always talk about universal laws and the law of polarity, and I truly believe that our zone of genius exists on the opposite end of our challenges. And for me, the back end, small detailed, those things that drive people crazy because you're trying to do it all and you're working on the things that aren't yours. And so I sat down and I put together an entire system that takes care of that for me. And now I'm sharing it so that others can see that you don't need to be afraid of your challenges. You can look at them and say, yes, this is where I'm challenged. So how do I resolve this? How do I take it so that it'll hone my zone of genius even more?
Can you give us just a little snapshot of that and maybe how you, because I know for me, I'm so kind of like multi-focused, multifaceted that to lock something down to your like, I've got it, I've got the systems, right? What was that process like for you? And can you give us a little glimpse of it?
I'm not sure I really understand your question. So if I don't answer it the way you asked it, please correct me.
Okay.
So what I did was I took a look at all the things that I was dropping the balls on, the things that were overwhelming me, the things that were taking up so much of my time that were like, I have to do this, but I don't want to. And so I took a look at that pile and I said, okay, now how do I resolve this? How do I take this off of my plate? How do I automate it? Because I truly believe that we have gone from, in the last 100 years, horse and buggy driving to self-driving cars. Automation, AI, robotics is here to stay. And it is here to bring our humanness to it. And so as I'm talking about this, I realized, well, Kathy, why aren't you automating as much of your own life and processes? So I did. I sat down. It was a lot of work. No wonder people don't do it, because it's a lot of work.
Right.
But I did it in such a way that it is duplicatable and replicatable really, really easy. And I think if we can all find that part of ourselves, we're all sharing and collaborating and cooperating.
And people already kind of have, it's not really a fear, but it does feel like some people are distancing themselves from AI because they're not curious. They're definitely on the other side of curious, where they're not scared of it, but just not believing in really the depths of what it can do for us when it's used properly. I think that's the piece that's the key, is making it used properly. I use AI in my business as well and in my personal life. But what would be your favorite AI tool?
Well, my Alex is my Chat GPT.
Okay.
And I have a bunch of AI projects that I'm working on. I'm connecting how to unlearn your crap and do the soul work of the empowerment through working with AI. But I think what people are really afraid of is they don't understand where it can help create their actual life better. When I think about when I was in high school, we weren't allowed to bring a calculator into class. We weren't allowed, definitely when my kids were in school, we weren't allowed to bring computers. Well, now computers and cell phones are mandatory. And AI is the new generation of what was a calculator in my day and age. So if people don't use it, they're going to get run over because the world is moving forward fast.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but one of I feel like it was Tim Story. And one of the things he said on there specifically about AI is he said, we have to remember that AI is being trained by the human race. So if people input, Lori Harder also said it, if people input good and use it to make an impact and to make an influence in a positive manner to move our world forward, that's what we're going to get out of it. If people are using it for darkness or using it to scam people or whatever, then that's what we're going to get out of it. We have to remember that it's the same as everything. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah, it's the reciprocity, our universal law of reciprocity. So I do, that has helped me try to figure out my curiosity with AI and really try to use some of the other platforms besides just ChatGPT, because it's that curiosity that's, I feel like I'll be more excited about it, I suppose.
Do you know what I've noticed is when I have transferred, especially as a woman, when I have transferred the mental load to automation, to computers, it frees my brain up and I'm more creative. I'm more alive. I'm not carrying the weight of everything. And if we look at it as this is a funny story. It just popped into my head, so I have to share it.
Bring it. I love it.
My grandmother would not use an electric mixer. She had to use a beater by hand. That's how entrenched it was that this was the right way to do it. So even though electric mixers and then the stand mixer and all that, she was locked in, do the hard manual work. Yes, we can continue to do the hard manual work if we want. But what is that going to do in bringing the greatest part of our humanness to the world? Our humanness comes in our imagination, our creativity, our innovation, our problem solving, our empathy, our love, not in our hard manual labor.
And something that I don't think it's ever too early to start talking about those things and teaching those things, right? I mean, as part of the vocabulary of learning is how do we be compassionate? How do we be empathetic? How do we treat people with respect? One of the things that has helped me kind of put everything together in those lists and keep things moving forward has been, I wouldn't say it's like this 20-piece morning routine, but I have a number of things that I do in the morning or throughout the day at certain times, right, that help me stay on track. What would you say is a non-negotiable for you that's either a morning or a night routine that you feel like helps make you more of a leader?
I do my unlearning the crap routines every single morning. So I take a look at what worked, what didn't work, where my challenges were. I journal. I have a tarot card meditation that I do to hone into my own intuition, because I believe that our body is talking to us through our intuition. And when we can learn to connect to ourselves and really get into that alignment. And so every day I'm honing that skill of what's my gut saying to me? What is my body saying to me? What's my heart saying? And it's a practice because I've spent my entire life living in the shoulds, so coming back to ourselves, it's a new practice. It's a new way of looking at things instead of being told, do things this way, follow this route, trust the society, trust the doctors, trust the lawyers, trust the experts. But no, it's about trusting ourselves. And so every single day, I'm getting to know myself a little better.
And being open to that learning and difference and what do I think and why do I think that and what can I do with that? Yeah. One of the exercises I do is when something does come up, I say to myself, The story I'm telling myself is whatever. The truth is whatever. And then for me, I just, okay, what's my next action? Based off of what I've now decided what the truth is, how am I going to move forward with this? Or what kind of leadership decision do I want to make? And the number of times that that's helped me get out of reaction mode and more respond in an intentional way, I mean, game changer.
Absolutely. When we think about the things that bother us, everything is information.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the universal law of polarity and perception, or sorry, relativity, which is where our perception lies. So if we take a look at what is happening within us or around us and decide, is this empowering? Is this giving me the results I want? It really doesn't matter about the labels of whether it's good or bad or always was or whatever. Is it working? Is it, or am I getting my desired results? If the answer is no, then we can look to the polar opposite and say, is that where I want to go? Okay. Well, just like our GPS tells us when we're going in the wrong direction, turn around at the safest place. We can do that in our lives at any time. We're not stuck on any trajectory. So my belief is that our GPS is our guidance system that is there to constantly course correct and hone us into where we belong. And if we've been off course, like I was for the majority of my life, people pleasing, doing the good girl routine, putting service above self, everybody, everything came first. We've got to keep looking at those things and bringing ourselves back to center.
Mm-hmm. Really deciding what we want and how we're going to fit that in with the other things that are going on around us. When you think about your career, is there for me, I'm a coach that's always had a coach. I've always got a mentor of some sort or somebody that I'm working with or a mastermind I'm involved in. Who is somebody that along your journey has made an impact for you? And why were they so impactful?
Oh my goodness. The list is too long. Everything from Dr. Bruce Lipton and learning about epigenetics and that how our thoughts create the environment and we can change our DNA and we can change our lives, to my personal mentors that I've worked with, like Grace Sirocco. I've done so many of her retreats, but the list is so long. Louise Hay. It's just, I've studied under over 100 different mentors and coaches. I'm one of those people like you, Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, you name it. I have studied it. And I believe I've taken a little bit from everybody. And that's what's given me such a perspective that ties it all together.
One of the things I feel like beginning leadership happens is that when people take in all that information, because they want to know all the things, they can get stuck in analysis paralysis or kind of an information overwhelm. You have shared how you have been able to make things much more actionable. So after you either read something, go to a seminar, watch something, what is something that you do to make sure you take action on maybe what you feel like is the most important thing from what you just learned?
We learn if we know what your learning style is and implement everything. So listen with your ears, watch with your eyes, write with your hands, think with your thoughts, speak it out loud. When we use all of our senses and we start to really question, how does this apply to me? Challenge what's happening within our lives right now with this new thought. Play with it like a new toy, massage it into your life. Not everything's going to stick. And some of the things, they might not stick now, but if you play with them in the future, you go, oh, it applies now.
There's so many things that I've taken and been like, oh, well, that sounds like a great idea. And then I hold on to it. And it's funny when it comes back to the top and you're like, now's the time for that. It's like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's when I'm ready for that, it's stored back there somewhere and it'll come out at the right time.
Absolutely. It's like learning how to drive during a, what do they call it? Skid steer when you're in a storm or something.
Yeah.
You learn it when you don't need it. Mm-hmm. So when you need it, you have it.
You have it. Yes. So lastly, I'd love to go ahead and I'm going to share your podcast there, the Unlearn the Crap and Level Up. I believe that you said, hold on one second. I think while I was writing that, you said the word month. Oh gosh. All right. So I'm going to put that back up there for your podcast so that you can kind of share with us what are some projects you have going on with the podcast or maybe some things that you've been talking about and sharing on there recently.
Recently, I have gone from an interview format like this, where I was doing it once a week, but the podcast has gained such momentum that I brought on a 5-day-a-week segment. So I have Unlearning Curve, which is me teaching all the different tricks and tools of learning. I have my Unplugged Tuesday, which is where I have my stories and references, where I become intimate and vulnerable so that people can see themselves. I have my Unfiltered Fire Friday, which is where I connect the current events to the principles within Unlearn the Crap so that you understand the energetic, the physiological, the connection from politics and financial and societal, and connect it to our own personal lives, because we are all interconnected, interrelated. And then I do a throwback of Beyond the Interview. So I've brought in all sorts of different aspects of what I bring in my books and in my passion for learning everything that I can get my hands on and share as much of it as possible on my podcast.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, I feel like it was probably, how old is my youngest daughter? 10. So 10 years ago was when I actually started listening to podcasts. And that time in the car was so valuable, driving back and forth to where I was working at the time. And I just absorbed and learned so much. And it changed the way that I thought about things. It changed the way that I saw things, my perceptions, my questions about things, rather than just reacting to whatever came on the radio or the satellite radio. It was, oh, what do I think about this topic? And choosing to follow certain people and choosing to listen to certain topics. And one of the things that I found during that time is I always have kind of known that I'm influenced by energy. But it really made me question the music I was listening to, the shows I was watching, because I would notice that if I watched something like, I used to love Law and Order SVU. I loved some Law and Order, but anything that I would watch that was dark brought me down, and I had a hard time getting out of that. So I used those podcasts to really help me understand the information that was coming in was either going to hold me back or it was going to push me forward. And I had a choice on what that was going to be.
Yeah. That is a perfect example of what Unlearn the Crap is about. It's about self-knowledge, self-awareness, and really starting to take a look at the small things that are affecting us, and taking that conscious awareness and making a decision. Do I want this or do I not? I love wine. I love wine.
Yeah.
And my body has come to a place where it says, oh, no, no, no. And I could put blinders on and say, but no, I really like this. But I've come to the place where I now recognize what it feels like when my body says, oh, I don't.
Yeah, I kind of hit the same wall, and again, it was a choice. I was like, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and feel good and go to the gym and be ready and take care of my kid, whatever. Or I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be fuzzy, or I'm going to wake up a little bit late, or I'm not going to be real clear in the morning, So I think you're right. It's not, it wasn't necessarily grading myself type of thing, but like I wanted to feel better.
Yeah.
So what was going to make that happen? Now, do I still enjoy a glass of wine every once in a while? Absolutely. However, it's not a nightly thing anymore.
I think a lot of us are coming to that awareness.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so besides your own, what is a book that you feel like is a must read for our audiences? It can be to do with leadership. It could just be with something, an author that you love. It could be something that stands out for you.
If you saw everything around what I have, it's crazy because I have so many books. Like I said, Bruce Lipton, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Teresa Bullard. These are people who help you understand how we're all saying the same thing, that the power is within us. And there's another book I absolutely love about happiness, sitting over there on my Happiness Now. Robert Holden, there it is.
Okay.
It's about consciously choosing conversations with God.
I love that book.
Yes, I read the entire series, and it has explained so much, because one of the things that he said in that book that has stuck with me is your heart will always know the truth. And learning that line, it changed how I react to things. And I know that my heart is telling me the truth. And if it's negative or positive, it's information from my heart to myself.
Oh, you just reminded me of that series. Oh, I love it. Pretty sure. So I'm definitely a book nerd myself as well. And I'm pretty sure that I loaned that book off to somebody, but I feel like I should have 10 copies of it just to give out like candy at a parade, because it's such a great awakening. Yeah. In such a cool way, the way that he wrote it. Yeah, that might just have to be for another time. But that is a wonderful one. Thank you for reminding me about that one. That one brings me so much joy.
Do you know that book chose me? And that was, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago that I came across it. And I'm not a religious person, but the book, they really almost jumped off of the shelf at me, and it kept drawing me back. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I in the religion section? And I just kept being pulled to this book, and it was such a strong, energetic pull. And that was my first learning that there was an energetic calling if we listened to it, because that book woke me up into such a way of seeing things in a different way and discovering myself.
I'm sorry, so good. I feel like it might, I don't know. Now I'm going to need to look for it. Cause like I said, I either gave it away or it's in my book cubby over there. So, well, thank you so much, Kathy, for coming on today. I so appreciate some of the insights that you shared, and you gave us a lot to think about in a way that was really easy for people to understand. So I hope that they take the time to go through this, maybe not once, but twice. And I feel like there's always those little nuggets we can pull out that can help us just take one good action that could help us lead a better life.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is living our best life.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And for everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, whether you're on the YouTube podcast or inside our community, please share with someone who you think might get some value from this. And I'm going to make sure that I get the links to connect with Kathy down in our show notes, wherever you're taking this in. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.